There's potentially bad news from across the Atlantic, not to do with the election, but it's got to do with classic cars, and it's leaving classic car enthusiasts fuming. California, which is the epicenter of car culture, is gearing up to push through a controversial proposal that could see vintage cars banned from certain areas altogether. Yeah, you heard me right. A potential ban on the very vehicles that define the Golden State's motoring legacy, if you like. Of course, this isn't just a California problem, because what happens there has a habit of crossing borders, not just within the US, but elsewhere as well. And this sort of thing could spell trouble for classic car lovers everywhere, including, of course, right here in the UK. In this video, we are unpacking what's been happening in California. So I'll explain what's going on, why it is significant, and how it could set a dangerous precedent for classic cars globally. We'll also explore the vital role that classic cars play, not just in economies, but also in not only in preserving histories, but also in bringing communities together and, even improving mental health. So could this really be the beginning of the end for classic cars and classic car culture as we know it? Well, stick around, because I'm going to get into what's happening across the pond, and that might be an indicator of what could be coming unless we act fast to stop this tide.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
So California, which has long been known as the heartland of car culture over there, is considering a dramatic move, introducing Zero Emission Zones. Now, under these proposals, older vehicles, and of course that will include classic cars, could face severe restrictions in certain areas. Now, if you've been following all the work I did last couple of years on ULEZ, ultra low emission zone here in London, then you may be thinking, well, this sounds a lot like ULEZ. Well, I don't think you're far from the truth. The Californian plans do bear a striking resemblance to ULEZ, with the fact that local governments potentially are allowed to impose these zones independently where they decide to do so. The idea, of course, is then to ban high emission vehicles, including pre-1978 classics, from entering these designated areas, or to impose daily charges for driving them. Pre-1978, I mean, that's the period of America's best classic cars, absolute legends and icons, from the 1957 Chevy Bel Air to the 1968 fastback Mustang from Bullitt. Are you kidding me? And interesting, isn't it, how they're talking about charging people to use them. So again, it is very much like ULEZ, if that is the case. So are they serious? Yeah, they are. So like I said, this is part of California's broader net zero carbon emissions by 2045. This is the strategy that they are thinking of employing. The state's regulatory body, the California Air Resources Board, CARB, is that an ironic name, CARB? Is that seriously, as like CARB? California Air Resources Board, CARB. Anyway, this organization is already taking steps to assess the impact of these vehicles, so i.e. these classic pre-1978 vehicles. CARB has reportedly sent surveys to classic car owners, asking how these vehicles are stored, how often they're driven, and even how many miles are on the odometer. This kind of data gathering makes enthusiasts understandably nervous, because it doesn't bode well, does it really? And it certainly sets the alarm bells ringing and foreshadows potential limitations on when, where, and how you can use your classic cars, or even if you can use them at all, ever. For context, let's just touch on the fact that California isn't just any state when it comes to motoring. Like I said before, it is the epicenter of American car culture. This is the birthplace of hot rodding, lowriders, some of the most iconic automotive brands and car builders, car customizers in the world. Famous people, famous faces, famous people, famous garages that you will know. Cars aren't just a mode of transport. in this part of the world. They're kind of a way, not only are they a way of life, they're a way of life, but also they are a way of identity, of culture, of celebration, of individuality. There's so many aspects of car culture that are still very, very strong and powerful in that part of the world. Yet under these proposed rules, cars that are symbols of this vibrant culture could be relegated to specific zones or shows only, or worst, forced off the roads entirely. And let's not forget the larger picture, the bigger picture here. There's 17 other US states, including major ones like New York, New Jersey, and Washington, that often follow California's lead when it comes to environmental regulations and legislations. So what starts in California could quickly become, could spread to other cities and quickly become a nationwide trend. And then, of course, it doesn't necessarily need to stop in America, does it? Now, you know that I have written about scenarios like this, well, exactly like this actually, this sort of condemning of older cars and classic cars in a couple of stories that appear in my book, Quantum Races, Lessons from the Finish Line. And that, I think, is a very appropriate term right there. So have you bought a copy of that yet? And if you haven't, why not? Go and do that. Get it now. There's a link below. And then don't forget to leave me a review on what you thought, especially of those particular stories. And whilst we're at it, I touched on ULEZ earlier. And don't forget, of course, I've written a novel about ULEZ. It's called the ULEZ Files. And again, that is also on Amazon. I'll put the link below. Check this out, guys. It's my book. It's my first novel. And it's written for car fans like you. It's a fun political action thriller. It's full of cool cars and spectacular action. Get your copy now at Amazon.com. Anyway, let's get back to this. Now, you might be thinking, why does this matter to the rest of the world and here in the UK, for example? Well, environmental policies, especially those targeting vehicle emissions, tend to spread. London's ULEZ, as we already mentioned, is already a reality, and other cities in the UK and Europe are looking at similar measures. If California's zero emission zones to restrict classic cars gains traction, so to speak, it could inspire stricter regulations here and elsewhere, potentially impacting the way that we actually enjoy our classic cars. The fact is, classic cars, why this is important and why government should take heed and why it's not just about us, but it's about the wider picture and the wider economic picture, because cars are, classic cars I should say especially, are a multi-billion pound global industry. So for example, in the United States alone, it is one of the largest classic car markets in the world. It generates well over $15 billion. That was, I think, in 2020. Projections say that that will hit about $19 billion in the current years. 1 in 6 jobs in America is tied to the automotive industry, with classic cars playing a significant role in sustaining that ecosystem. Here in the UK, the historic and classic car sector is almost as vital and almost as lucrative. It's estimated to generate something like £18.5 billion in annual turnover, and there are about 1.5 million historic vehicles registered in the UK, and they're valued at about £12.5 billion. My goodness. The sector supports over 100,000 jobs, and that includes, mechanics and restoration and specialist companies that look after these classics. Not only that, but classic cars, don't forget, are also the backbone of countless events, from brilliant small club events like, West London Classics Show and Shine, which I've covered. Do check out my videos on that. But also other things I've covered, like the NEC Classic Car Show. And of course, then there's other globally renowned events like, the Silverstone Classic or the Festival of Speed, etc., etc. And these events alone, they attract millions of visitors annually. They boost local economies through tourism, hospitality, and retail, and of course, selling Merc and all the rest of it. All of these things, of course, also foster community spirit. They bring people together, all ages, all backgrounds, all cultures. They all come together because of a shared passion for cars. Hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, make sure you hit that like button, comment, share, tell the world. Classic cars, of course, are also rolling pieces of history. They tell stories. They tell stories of our past, of innovation, of design, of their moment in time when they existed, of aspirations of past generations. Whether it's a 1960s 1960s Mini Cooper or representing Britain's ingenuity, or the Ford Model T that got America going. These vehicles connect us to our heritage in a way that nothing else, nothing like a microwave oven or even a smartphone ever will. For many people, owning a classic car is more than just a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Maintaining, restoring, and driving these machines provides a deep sense of satisfaction, pride, and achievement. Classic cars represent a slower, more intentional approach to life sometimes. They offer a stark contrast to today's fast-paced, disposable culture. Often classic cars are a source of, I think not actually, to be fair, not often, but quite often and quite frequently, they are a source of mental health benefit. The act of working on a car or problem solving or even just driving them, which of course for me is the main thing. I just enjoy driving them. And just that act alone can be incredibly therapeutic. It is a form of mindfulness that helps people escape their daily stresses. So what's at stake here? Proposals like California's, they aren't just about reducing emissions, they risk erasing an entire culture. That's what we're talking about here, nothing less. Classic cars are symbols of freedom, expression, and creativity. Losing them would mean losing a significant part of our shared history and our identity. Moreover, there's the issue of fairness. Critics argue that targeting classic cars, which are a tiny fraction of the overall number of vehicles on the road, wouldn't actually they won't make a dent in the global emissions at all. Especially when most of these cars are run very infrequently, very rarely, they're very well maintained. So the impact that they contribute to the global's emissions is negligible. So targeting them is a complete waste of time and a negative aspect of what you're doing to society, to culture, and to the economy as well. And then there are bigger industries that you should be targeting, from shipping to aviation, for example. So what do you think? Should classic cars be protected as cultural treasures, and should we be allowed to use them? Or is it time to actually let go of them for the sake of the environment and our health, if you look at pollutions in cities, which is what this is about really? Do you think that the policies like California's Zero Emission Zones could eventually spread across not just America, but across the globe? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe for more stuff like this. And until next time, stay passionate about classic cars and keep spreading the message. And before we go, Peter, you've been very kind because you had some really nice things to say about something I'd written.
Yeah, you freaked me out a little bit. Like when I met you, obviously you're a jack of all trades and you can talk about anything. But you said, Pete, I'd like you to read this story. And the story is called Stang Struck. And I start reading it. I'm actually getting, this sounds weird, but I'm getting chills because it was like he lived in the car, because he described different things that these cars, if you're used to them, they do. They all have idiosyncrasies, but he hit every nail on the head in terms of the idiosyncrasies of the car, how they act and how they perform. And I felt like I was driving the car with his character. Phenomenal. He's got a wonderful book called Quantum Races, which is a group of his short stories. The guy writes brilliantly. I promise you, I'm not just saying it. The book is worth the price just for Stang Struck. Wonderful, wonderful book.
Peter, thank you. It means a lot. It means a lot coming from you. I mean, you know your Mustangs.
I try, but you hit the nail on the head. I really enjoyed reading it, and
Shout out time, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, if you enjoy my content, why not get involved? Buy me a coffee. You can do that at either of these links. Or if you're watching on YouTube, buy me a thanks or take out a membership. It all helps. It really does.